Hello and welcome to the Board Game Badger. My name is Emma and today we are talking about Sleeping Gods Primeval Peril, which is a game that I added to my pledge for Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. It's not a new game. It was available as a print and play with the original Sleeping Gods. I can't imagine printing all the components that you need for this game. If you did, then I'd love to hear how it went. There's quite a lot of different components that's needed. And the print and play version aligned to the rule set of Sleeping Gods, whereas this production version has several changes that align it more closely to Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. So what I'm going to do today is give you a brief overview of the game, play a couple of turns so you can see how it works, and then go through my first impressions having played through one campaign of this game. So the story behind this game is that you and the crew of the Harpy, a small fishing vessel, I believe, that operates outside of San Francisco Bay, has been pulled into the Wandering World and are now in this river territory. This is the atlas that we'll be moving through. The shipboard will dictate our actions and what we do in each round, and then we've got our crew cards here as well. So set everything up already, and rather than go through all the different components, I'll kind of explain a little bit as I take a couple of turns, and hopefully by the end it won't be a full rules teach, but you'll get a bit of a sense of how things work and what the main differences are from the larger games in the series. So first things first, when we start our turn, we have to draw an event card at the start of every turn. So that's from this deck. So, jumping piranhas. Vicious fish bite the boat and anyone near the edge. Take 1 boat damage and 1 character takes 2 damage. Gain a meat. Okay, so we haven't even started yet and we're already on the back foot. Right, so this board tells us a lot about our boat and our turn, and the boat health track is down here. We're just going to knock that down 1. If we get to 0, then we're going to have to use one of our camps, and they're finite, so we don't want the boat to get to 0. We also need to take 2 damage to 1 character, and like this early in the game I kind of just want to give it to the person who's got the most health. John has 9, and so does Captain Vine. Sorry John, why don't you take 2 damage, and we'll see what we can do about that a little bit later. Okay, so we also, it's not all bad, we gain a meat. Maybe we caught one of the piranhas, so we take one of these from the supply. So I've got my supply of tokens down here, and then we give that to one of the characters to look after. Let's give that to Mei Ling to look after, and then we'll just discard that card. Okay, having drawn the event, and those can be good, more often than not they are not good, we then move into our turn proper. And in this game, as in Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, we have a track here of time, and we spend time to take actions. So it's all laid out on the board here, so once you understand the turn loop, it's really simple just to get in and dive into the game. We can either spend 1 time to travel, we can spend 2 time to explore any location, so that will either be a numbered location such as one here, or one of these square locations such as here. We can rest, which doesn't take any time, but let me find my map for you. We would have to cross off one of our camps. That's a limited supply of times that we can do that. Once we've crossed off the last one, we have to reach the end of the game within 3 turns or we fail. So there is a push your luck element where you are trying to go as far as you can without camping. The benefits of camping are that everyone gets back their stamina, which are these 3 tokens here, which we use to take actions, and they gain 2 health. We can also discard a meat and a vegetable or fruit. We've got those to get 5 more health. We can also take 2 time to repair the boat. So what do I want to do on this first turn? I don't need to rest yet. We did take some boat damage, but I don't think we need to worry about it too much yet. Traveling or exploring seem like the best things we can do first off. So we start here, And travelling means we cross one of these dotted lines. I think what I'd like to do is, before I move off here, I'd like to just explore this bit here. So I'm going to move my pocket watch down 2 times to show that I've explored. And this is a little kind of X marks the spot treasure map. Hidden treasure. You must pay 1 treasure map and then cross off this location. So we have a treasure map, I believe. Yes, we have a treasure map here. Dr. Timothy's got one. We're going to discard that, and it would help if I had a pen handy. Okay, so we start here. I'm going to cross that off. Ooh. When I cross that off, it means I can't go back there again. And so I have now a perception challenge, and if I fail, I lose 8 health, but if I succeed, I gain a coin and I gain a card. So let's give it a go. So challenges, skills challenges, something you come across quite a lot in the game to resolve. Each character has a number of skills, and throughout the game, they'll be able to gain abilities which add to the skills icons that are already on the board. In this game, unlike the bigger games, they can level up as well, which means they've got more. Now, if we want to do a 6 challenge, we can do one of 3 things, really. We can have one character participate by spending stamina. We can have multiple characters participate by spending 1 stamina each. Or we can just roll the fate die and see what happens. We'd need to roll a 6, which is kind of unlikely. There's a resource balancing element here where we don't want to spend our stamina too easily, because it's not that easy to regain it. You regain it by camping, but we don't want to camp too often. So there's a balance here between how many characters do we want to commit to reach our goal versus how little can we do in order to make sure we've got stamina for other activities. On this occasion, let's get Mei Ling involved. Let's get John involved, and let's leave the captain. Let's get Lois involved as well. So that's 3 characters, each contributing 1 perception to this challenge. I should say as well, part of this story is one of the passengers on our boat, who's actually Mei Ling's husband and John's father, was kidnapped as soon as we arrived in this location. So one of our missions is to try and find him. Right, so we have got 3 perception already. That means we need to roll a 3 or more. And we rolled a 3. Fantastic. We succeed. So that means we gain 1 coin. So I'm going to give that to John to look after. And we gain card 11. Okay, so when we gain a card, we look through the numbered deck here. And, oh, we have a pocket watch. That's fantastic. And that gives us an extra savvy. So we can just equip that to one of our crew straight away. Let's give that to Mei Ling. And from this point on, she has 2 savvy. Each character can have 1, so you can get miscellaneous, a hand, 2 hand, and a body, I think. And you can only have 1 of each equipped to each character. But that was pretty useful. Okay, so that was a good start. We still got time left on our turn, so let's go here and travel to number 1. And when we get to let's not forget, we're going to spend 2 time to explore this location. We then open the storybook to the number 1, and we find the story without looking at the other paragraphs. And let me go here. Okay, so number 1, where are we? on this page here. So we're here as the thrum of insects floods the air, the shore widens and you see a man sitting on the riverbank. The ground around him is covered in canvas-wrapped earthenware and he beckons you to see. You pull up to the rickety dock and the man grins. Has fate sent you to me in this dire hour? Will you help me or leave me here in a lost piece of a deadly puzzle? Perhaps fate sent you to us, says Dr. Milk. We're lost as well. Can you tell us where we are? The man strokes his curly beard. You're in the wandering sea near the great city of Zokmir, home of the vast, ancient... I don't mean to be rude, John interjects, but we don't need a history lesson. We need to find my father. And what does he need? Asks Lois, nodding at the man who is eyeing the harpy like a delicious meal. I can guide you up the river, he offers eagerly. I can take you to a waterfall north of here. Maybe that's where your father is. There's just something important I need to return along the way. And now we have two options. We can either ask him to explain or we can distract him while we look for clues. Let's ask him to explain. So we turn to 1.1. What do you want? What do you need in return, you ask? The man shudders as he reaches into one of the pots on the shore. He pulls out a golden statue of a bat mid-flight. I took this statue from its resting place months ago, and it has cursed my life ever since. All my companions are dead, and I am left here listening as the howls and cries of the jungle threaten to take me to a leafy grave. Quite a stretch to blame all your misfortunes on a trinket, says Dr. Milk. It rots the minds of those who possess it, yells the man. My only hope for peace lies upriver, past the great stone head, near the falls to the north. So we can A, agree to let the man guide us upriver, which will give us cards 40 and 57, or we can steal the golden bat from the man. Or we can ask him about the flying monster. Okay, so I'm going to just agree to let him guide me upriver. I feel like I do need a guide. I'm new to this place. So let's gain cards 40 and 57 and cross off location 1. So again, we turn to our map. Cross off location 1. So we can't go back. So those other options we could have chosen are now lost to us. We've chosen that particular path. In another campaign, we could try and use our cunning, or we could talk to him for a bit longer, which is one of the things that makes this game so replayable. And which cards did he say we get? It was card 40 and card 57. So here we go. In the deck, and we shouldn't look at the other cards, by the way. Card 40 and card 57. Okay. So for combat, we now have another weapon, which will do 2 damage, plus the perception of the character using it, plus the combat die roll, and it gives us 2 block. That's pretty useful. I'm going to add it to my combat deck. And this one gives us a summary of what that chap told us and a keyword that we can use later on in our quest, which I will just drop down here. And if we look at our map, he mentioned a falls to the north, and I can see waterfalls here and up here, so that perhaps tells us where we ultimately need to go. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to spoil any more of the story. The one thing I do want to show though is combat. So there is on this page somewhere a combat with these crocodiles here, and combat works a bit differently in this game and in Distant Skies than it does in the original Sleeping Gods game. And you have this combat deck. You only need 12 cards in it, so there's a deck building element where the more weapons you find during the game, the more you can customize your deck and make it really strong and weed out the weaker cards, which I really quite enjoy. What you would do is you would then choose a card, and let's say that does this one. It's no damage plus our cunning, and it takes away 2 power. So we would have placed power tokens equal to these on the crocodiles at the start, and we would then, this one gets 2 power at the start, they all do, so we might just remove that power, which would weaken the crocodile's counter attack. We could then, let's say, place this on Dr. Tim. No, look at Lois. She's got some cunning. So let's say that Lois uses this tactic. She can do 2 damage because she's got 2 cunning symbols. and she can also remove the 2 power from this crocodile. So she then will take her damage tokens, and let's say that she places it here. I should have said that I draw off 5 at the start, and that's my starting hand. So she's done that. The crocodile attacks back, 2 plus its power. She removed its power symbol, so it does 2 damage, but she's got no block. Oh dear. So she takes the damage, and then we move on, and let's say that Mei Ling then has a go with a machete. She does no damage, but she does roll the combat die, which is a 0, not good. She can add her strength to that. Oh, she doesn't have any strength. Let's just say instead we use the captain, and he has 1. So pretty pathetic attack that time around. We only do 1 extra damage, and then the crocodile attacks back as well. And we go through that until we reach the end of the combat round. It is a difference to the original game, and whilst I didn't have a problem with the combat in Sleeping Gods, I actually do like this better. So kind of with that, as I'm starting to seep into my views on the game, let's do some first thoughts. My first thoughts on this game is it's a really good, stripped down, streamlined Sleeping Gods adventure. Look at it on the table. There are going to be some more cards that get tucked under these characters and some quests that I lay out on the table. But on the table, it's taking up much less space than the original game, or Distant Skies, which itself is a lot more compact than the original game. So in terms of setup, it's super easy. It took me, I think, under 5 minutes to set this game up. It's going to play in 90 minutes to 2 hours. And it's a game that, therefore, if you are looking for a Sleeping God style adventure, but you don't have 20 hours or 12 hours to spend on a campaign, this fits the bill nicely. You can play this in an evening. The stories themselves, it very much feels like you are in that world with the same great quality artwork, the great storytelling. The stories aren't as deep as in Sleeping Gods, so if you've played the original game where you would go into the storybook and then you'd kind of go through a list of paragraphs of different choices and branching narratives until you got to something at the end, maybe combat or something else, it's less deep. To be honest, I didn't expect it to have the same level of depth, but there are still meaningful choices. There are still branching ways that you can go. The world you're exploring, the part of the world, is part of Sleeping Gods. You can see it on the map. It's part of Zokmir, which is at the southern end of the Wandering Sea, and this is a smaller part of it. It's just this river here, but within that there are still branching ways that you can go, different stories you can choose to have. If I don't think I'm spoiling anything if I show you my first campaign. I took a fairly direct route towards some of the ending, place where I thought there was an ending, and meandered a little bit only. But so in my first campaign I didn't see any of kind of this half of the map, well, 2/3 of the map, so plenty still to see, explore. I leveled up 4 characters, but I still feel like there's more I can do in this world, so I think it's fantastic value for the money. Speaking of the money, it's I don't know how much it's going to retail for, but it's going to be significantly less expensive than the big games. So I think if people are interested in Sleeping Gods and what the game is and what it offers, this could be a way of getting into it if you don't want to splash out on the really big games and you don't have the time to play the full campaign and have it out on your table for a week or devote a whole day to it. This is a really, really good game. So I clearly love the game. I guess would I recommend this to somebody else? Let me split that question into 3 different groups of people. Firstly, I think there are people who have played Sleeping Gods before and loved it, people like me. There'll be people who played Sleeping Gods before, didn't necessarily love it as much as they wanted to, and then people who've never played it at all. So people like me who have played Sleeping Gods before and love it, would I recommend this game to you? Absolutely, I would. There is not a significant rules overhead with the changes to the rules, the changes to the combat. This numbered deck contains it contains quest cards and adventure cards and ability cards actually all in one go. So it's kind of streamlining stuff. It's all stuff that feels super familiar, that it's a different adventure in the same world. If you want more of what you got in Sleeping Gods, absolutely go for this. And also, if you would like to introduce Sleeping Gods to one of your friends, this is a really good way to introduce, I think, this game, this world to another person without asking them to spend like 10 hours with you on a campaign. So I definitely would recommend it. You probably don't need it, but if you're like me, you will want it. People who didn't like Sleeping Gods, I guess it depends why you didn't like it. If you did not like the world, you didn't like the artwork, you didn't like the stories, this won't change your mind. I don't know who those people are. I presume there may be some people out there, but this will not change your mind because it is still the same experience in terms of exploring the world and going through the stories. And in fact, because of the changes to the way things work around the shipboard, you don't have ship actions and command tokens the way you did in Sleeping Gods. You're actually closer to the story than you were before. If you didn't like Sleeping Gods because you found the ship actions were laborious, the command tokens were fiddly, you felt that you were spending time outside of the story too much and you wanted to get back into it, or you found that the combat was a bit clunky, I think you would be interested in this because those that feedback that some players gave to Ryan Lorca after the original game came out, he's addressed that. And if you weren't bothered by those elements, I still think you'll like the improvements. And if those elements detracted from your enjoyment of the game, I think that you will feel these are improvements and I think you will enjoy the game a lot better. So yeah, if you didn't like Sleeping Gods for those reasons, have a look at this. If you didn't like it just because you don't like the story and the open world exploration, don't bother. This will not be the game for you. If you have never played Sleeping Gods before, and I touched on this a couple of minutes ago, I think this is a really good place to start if you're interested in the world, because when it comes out in retail, I can't imagine it's going to be anywhere near the price of Sleeping Gods or Distant Skies, but it's going to teach you the rule set, it's going to introduce you to the world, it is going to have a really great feel of exploration as you move your little ship through this atlas and meet people and fight monsters and overcome obstacles and go through a story and come to one of a few endings. So there are different endings, the same as Sleeping Gods. And if you like it, it can be a jumping off point into the rest of the Wandering World. And if you don't like it, at least you haven't shelled out tons for a massive game that you're never going to play again. So I definitely would recommend it if you haven't played Sleeping Gods before. So I think that brings me to the end of my initial thoughts on this game. Do tell me if you've had a chance to play this game, what you thought of it, how you enjoyed it, and leave some comments below. I am going to bring you some first impressions of Distant Skies at some point. I'm working my way through a campaign, but I can only play a little bit every day, so it's going to take me a while. But like, spoiler alert, it's great. And do subscribe to the channel because I'm not entirely sure how often or how regularly I can put content out, so it's going to be a little bit infrequent. So to be sure that you catch the next video, do subscribe. Other than that, I will leave it there. Thank you very much for staying with me to the end, and I will see you next time.